Good day, everybody. I am Dani Bettencourt, your productivity coach, and today I'm going to be going over with you on what items do you prepare for and take to go to a listing appointment. So the first thing is that you should, once you get that come list me call, the first thing that you should be doing is filling out your seller lead sheet. So I'm going to go ahead and share with you what that looks like. Your seller lead sheet. This is what your seller lead sheet should look like. So this lead sheet here is actually the questions that you want to ask the seller when they call to say, hey, come list my property. So that way you can properly prepare for your listing appointment. This is very important to me because you need to know where their motivation comes from. Anytime that you're working with buyers or sellers, motivation is always the key, especially if things start to go a little sticky or a little sideways, or you got a few hurdles during the transaction. You always want to drive people back to the motivation to help them remember why they even started the process to begin with. So this seller lead sheet is very imperative and very important to have completed prior so you can prepare properly. This seller lead sheet will go through property information, what their motivation is. It'll also talk about what is any upgrades on the home that you need to take into consideration when we are preparing for the actual acceptable marketing price for them. Now, the home details that we are going to get will actually be through the tax records. So that is the most important thing, is filling out this seller lead sheet. And to me, the number one key is diving into the motivation for your sellers. Next, you're actually going to get into the tax records, because you want to make sure that who you're talking to is actually the owner of the home, right? So you're going to access the tax records by getting into your multiple listing service. And as you can see over here on the left, you have Prospector MLS, and then you have Realist Tax. So you're going to click on to the Realist Tax, and that's actually going to help you to be able to pull up the property information. You're going to search by address, and then you're going to put in, and we'll just kind of use mine just for right now, and you're going to put in the property of the home. You just click on there and you're going to hit search. And then what that's going to do is that is going to pull up all the details of the property. And as it's loading here, you want to be able to verify. There it is, owner of record, Danielle Bettencourt. It gives you the basics of the home, 3-bedroom, 2-bath. It also shows you what somebody paid for their home and when they paid for it. You can also see here sometimes what their mortgage information is, because that's very important that you ask them about their mortgage information, because you need to be able to also do a net sheet with them. So I typically will print that, and I just do a quick print. And I always have that with me because, like I said, I want to make sure that the person that I am setting the appointment with and the person that I am meeting, well, is actually the owner of record. It'll also tell you if the home is in a trust. Then that way you'll know that you need a few additional forms as a trust advisory, and make sure that you're talking to the person that can sign on behalf of that trust. All right. So with that being said, once we have our tax records, we're going to go back into our multiple listing service. And the next thing that you want to be able to do is pull up comparable market sales. So whenever I do that, I always go to searches, and then I do a radius search. I pull up, and typically I like to start out at about a half mile out, and I will put in the property address here. And what I do is I always look for 3 sold comparables within the last 6 months, if not sooner. I look for 3 active listings, because it's very important that you know who your competition is. Last thing you want to do is price the home to sell your neighbor's house, right? So we're going to pull up active listing. We're going to pull up any pendings, because those are important too, and also closed. If you notice, it automatically defaulted to 6 months back, and then you're going to look in there to see what that is. Now, if you know the specifics, which you should from filling out your seller lead sheet, you should already know that you want to compare apples to apples as much as you can. With that being said, what I mean by that is you want to compare a 3-bedroom to a 3-bedroom home, a 2-bath to a 2-bath home. You really don't want to be trying to pull in homes that have 5 bedrooms plus a loft and a pool if your home does not meet that criteria. So once you have pulled in some homes and information here, you can go ahead and you can put in a 3, 2, and you put that through there, and then the property address. All righty. And you hit preview count. Now, sometimes, like my home in particular, it's out in a rural area. So you may not be able to find some comparable sales. So you may have to start to broaden your research, broaden your expansion area to be able to see what is actually out there to be sold. All right, let's see if we can get something to pull up here. And it says through range must be greater than the from range, which is, whoops, my bad. There we go. And we want to leave it into 3 bedrooms. Preview count. And there was a total of 12 listings that had popped up that were active, pendings, and closed. So you just hit view results on there and it's going to give you all of those. Now, this is literally where you need to do a little bit of research. I always like to do a little drive-by prior to my listing appointment, so I have a good idea of the location and the outside condition of the home, so I can pull these comparables accordingly. So what you really want to do is look at the homes and say, how do they compare to the size and condition of the other home? And you're going to select, like I said, 3 sold comparables, 3 active listings, and any pending competition. Pending is very important also because they'll tell you how many offers were on the home. Because why is that important? Because if there was 2 offers that were done, that means that there's one other family that is still looking in that particular area. So it's very good information to have. And that's why you want to pull any additional relevant information that you can. I always go a step further. And when I see these pendings, I actually pick up the phone and I call that listing agent and I ask them some questions. Hey, what does your offer look like? Is it below asking, above, at asking? Are you getting credits? And also too, what type of condition or anything that they're willing to share to help make your presentation when it comes to setting that marketing price number a little bit more valuable. All right. So once we actually have those pending comps, those active listings and sold comparables, we want to figure out an approximate price range that you may be able to suggest to the sellers. Now, on our seller lead sheet, we should have already asked them what they feel is an acceptable selling price to the home. And that's very important too, because you want to make sure that you're dealing with a reasonable seller, right? Because with these comps all right here and in my neighborhood, if everything's listed around 600,000 and that seller feels that their home is worth 800,000, you may have quite a bit of an uphill battle walking into that listing appointment. Okay, once we have pulled all of our relevant information from MLS, next thing you want to do is you want to print out your listing packet. Your listing packet, typically what we do is we email our listing presentation the night before to the seller. So that way I don't have to go through what all of our activities that we do to get their home sold. They're able to look at this and they also get to know a little bit about myself and my team. This you can customize in Command, which is very, very awesome in our design section. Or you can go a little out of the box and we took some information from Command and we turned around and we built that into our own PowerPoint presentation, which is very easy for us to modify as we continue to grow. So I always have a listing presentation that I send to them the night before, but then I also print a hard copy because I want to leave that behind once I've got my listing agreement signed. Now, you're probably wondering, how do we get our documents? So next thing we're going to do is that you're going to go into your CAR forms, California Association of Realtors. You're going to get into there.
Okay, everybody, now that we've logged into our CAR forms, we should have already gathered our CMA, our tax records, our listing presentation, and an estimated net sheet. Now we need to get the contracts that we're actually going to take to our listing appointment. So once you've logged in, this is your dashboard here. You're going to hit new. Once you hit new, it's going to pop up and you're going to see listing. So that's going to come over and we're going to go ahead and we're going to use my same address as before. And I pop that in there because that's the name of the transaction. And what you're going to do at that point is put in the property address. And new, it is residential. And then you notice that my template popped up here for listing contracts because I've already created templates in the CAR forms. Please follow the videos on how to create templates and you'll be able to see. In my templates, I have a cover sheet, residential listing agreement, which is what you need to take with you, a transfer disclosure statement, which is called the TDS, an SPQ, which is a seller property questionnaire, and also a ad bid, which is an agent visual inspection disclosure, and last but not least, a disclosure information advisory. So when you go in, you're actually going to complete all of these forms here: listing, DIA, your ad bid, your TDS, and your SPQ along with that. Now, I also like to add in the market conditions advisory. So then that way they're able to see on these forms what they actually look like. So once you go in with them, if you're not familiar with these forms, please familiarize yourself with them. It's very important that you understand what the residential listing agreement is, the market condition advisory, disclosure information advisory, an agent visual inspection, a transfer disclosure statement. Now this one you're actually not going to fill out. You're going to leave behind for the sellers to fill out, and then you're going to go back and pick this up because this is basically like the history of the home. Same thing with the seller property questionnaire. So with all of those are the documents that you want to select and prepare for your finding. So I'm not going to go through on how to fill them up, but as you can see on these forms, you're going to see it's already pre-filled because I have completed my template. So do look into getting your templates filled out also. So those are the documents that you want to take when you prepare for a listing appointment. So once again, it's a residential listing agreement. It is your tax records. It is a comparable market analysis. It is a listing presentation, estimated net sheet, transfer disclosure statement, seller property questionnaire, agent visual inspection, and also a DIA. All right, you guys, good luck and go get the next listing.